The example that Ravi Saab gave is fantastic. Our training as Ahmadi Muslims is, if we are abused to that level, that we stay quiet and we recite Durood Sharif. If you go to YouTube and you see some clips of these Lahore bombings that took place, and there's some really shocking material there. You see people who are injured with gunshot wounds, and the guy is videoing it on his mobile phone, and you can hear firing and explosions in the background. They are sitting in silence, reciting Durood Sharif. So this is well beyond freedom of expression. This is freedom to live is being encroached upon. And they sat and suffered that with great dignity. So if the example, that is an extreme example that we've seen recently. So as Muslims, that is the example that we should be showing, not just as Ahmadi Muslims, but Muslims of any sect of Islam. Because this is the example of the Prophet and his followers. Sorry. If I can just rewind just a little bit to the panel. I have the young gentleman at the front. He asked a question earlier on, and I don't feel that he quite got the answer. And I want to restate his question.
The point about freedom of speech being different in different countries.
Yeah,
is that what
he said that in Pakistan you have the extreme control of the freedom of speech, to the extent that blasphemy laws are designed to segregate and oppress segments of their own society. In the States, the laws are such that even the president himself is powerless to stop a man from offending an entire segment of humanity, which is Islam.
Let's find out what the panel have in response to that.
The way I see it is this. There's two layers. There's two layers that we need to think about. There's the first layer of what the law should do. And in that approach, I personally would favour the situation in the United States. I think the law, the state, the power of the authority and control should be minimal in controlling what people do. The only time it should step in is when there's actual social disorder. Offence is not enough, in my opinion. People should be offended. They've got other ways to deal with that. It's if there's going to be violence, if they're going to be prevented from exercising their rights, if they're going to be harmed, there should be things. But then there's a second layer. And I think this is what, I mean, if we call it neoliberalism rather than liberalism. But what neoliberalism has, in my opinion, engendered is an abdication of moral responsibility. So you only look at, I've got a right to do this, and that's the end of the story. The second layer, and this is what the Sharia gives, because it covers both what the law should do and what you as a moral agent should do. The second layer it points to is this moral responsibility. So what would happen in an ideal, the ideal solution would be, I'm entitled to say what I want to offend 20% of the population, but I'm going to exercise my moral responsibility not to. And if I'm one of those people that disagree with those 20% of the rest of the world, what I will do is I will exercise my right in a manner that's dignified. And it's the word, it's the word you use, dignity. And I think that sums it all up.
It's about opening and having a mature discussion and debate. I think that has to be the overriding factor. We're going to be wrapping up shortly. I just want to get one or two...
Just add something to this question. Again, we have a very, very good example here. The Quran says, speak to them in the way which is best.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You see, for each and every society, there shouldn't be one version of not only freedom of speech, of democracy as such, because some societies are such, some are different, there are different culturally, mentally. And one thing which is, ripe and ready for one society is not ready. For example, in Africa, you have a tribe where the chief is a father figure. You can't really criticize him in a way that politicians are being criticized in this country, because it will be wrong. It will be wrong for the society. And in this respect, we must speak in the way which is best, and the best is in the context.
That's a good point. We're just a bit short on time. I want to get one or two final points. There's some people in the audience who haven't had a chance to speak. Have you got some... Just looking at the whole discussion that we've had today, I mean, how does freedom of speech affect you, and what would you like to say?
I think just summing it up for what we've all just been talking about is we came up with the idea that the basic freedom of speech as a basic concept should be adopted by everyone. It is a positive thing. However, to use it against somebody or in the wrong way and not having limitations on it because you can use it to abuse and affect another person's life. Obviously, at the same way you can use physical abuse. But a question I have quickly is that abuse, physical abuse, you can make rules about it, because obviously if you break somebody's arm, it's obvious. But abusing somebody mentally is subjective to what to their
It's hard to
their
judge how
needs.
much you've
So if I
affected
say
them,
to you, if I say something to you, it might be offensive to you, but to another person, they might not be offended. So how do we judge that? It's a grey area in kind of.
Okay, let's just get one more point and then we'll move to the panel. If you just, how have you found the discussion today? What do you think has been the most important aspects of it to take away?
Well, freedom of speech is really important, and everyone has the right to have the freedom of speech. But until a certain border, you should be able to speak. There's a limit of everything, right? And as soon as you cross the limit in a good way, that's right. But as soon as you cross it in a bad way, as we see in Pakistan, then that's where the freedom of speech is no longer freedom of speech. Like the Maulvis, for example, they're allowed to say whatever they want, but they don't realize that Ahmadis all around the world are being persecuted because of what they say. And on the other hand, we see our Khalifatul Masih, Hazur, in nearly every khutbah Jummah, he says nearly the same thing, that we should pray for all Muslims. We should pray for those Maulvis, that they come on the right track. There's two extremes. There's the extremes that Muslims should be killed, Wajibul Qatl, and there's our Khalifa, who's given the extreme love, that although they persecute us, although I'm not allowed to stay in that country, but we still pray for them.
Exactly. No,
so the freedom of speech, there's the extreme of good and there's the extreme of bad.
Okay.
And we have the right to choose.
That's a really nice point to end on as well. Turning to the panel, we've had a good discussion today. We've opened up a lot of avenues of discussion as well. It's a huge, huge topic, and there's various aspects to discuss. But just briefly, to wrap up, Raviel, what would be the most important point for you?
Well, the most important point is that we have discussed this, that we always try to think about these things, because this is important. Whatever life offers us or challenges us with, we have to find a response.
Right.
And without thinking what the right response will be, we can't do it. So I think that I congratulate the program that it picks up such topics, and I just hope that we more of them.
Okay, fantastic. Qudsi, turning to you, how would you like to wrap up the discussion today?
I think what it really comes down to is that things aren't very complicated when you look at them.
Okay.
They seem to be complicated, but if you exercise good moral virtues internally, and therefore if society also reflects those moral virtues, humility, dignity, tolerance, and the list goes on, and you use those things to inform your moral judgment, you may get things wrong here and there, and things may go wrong. It's not a perfect society, but if you can engender and instill that kind of approach to life, it's the approach that's important and the mentality that's important, then I think most problems will be solved or at least made better. Okay,
fantastic. And Makasa, what would be your concluding remarks for today?
Speak freely but responsibly. Simple as that.
Short and sweet, fantastic. Thank you very much. To the panel members, thank you very much for participating in the program as well, and the audience as well. I know there were a few other points we wanted to raise, but unfortunately we've run out of time. We've been speaking about freedom of speech, and you've got the freedom as well to come online, go to our website and actually put in your comments and views on the discussion. The website address is mta.tv/Real Talk. You can email us in directly as well. The address is there for you at the bottom of the screen, realtalk@mta.tv. Do get in touch, do get involved. As we said before, this is your program and we want you to be to feel really involved in it. If you want to be here in the audience, if you want to participate in future programs, all the details are there for you on the website as well, so do check that out. We'll be back, inshallah, with a few more Real Talk programs. We've got a few more topics lined up in the future. So, inshallah, I hope you can join me again next time for that. But until then, assalamu alaikum.